Hello, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sunrise Daily today. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
Good morning. I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf.
Well, we're up bright and early here in our just commercial capital, Lagos. You're welcome. I'm Kayode Okikulu.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Today is the 13th day, yes, I'm back again, of March 2023. Welcome, I'm Ayo Makinde.
Well, I just want to be sure that, look, even though we know that the court has given a decision on the currency matter, we know there was a lot of hoopla about all of that concerning what should be, but can't just seem to understand. Even up until last night, I did make inquiries trying to find out if people are accepting the old notes. Yes, I tried, but they just said, no, we won't accept it. And I'm just wondering, look, there seems to be something that we're not getting. Something seems to be amiss here. Because if people, market persons say, well, we are waiting for directives or announcement from either the CBN or the president, I don't know how to place that. Because one wonders what part of the law or what part of all of what the court has decided that they don't understand. And I would have thought that, look, by now, this is a settled matter, at least from the point of law. But at the moment, it appears not, because in spite of all of the cues, I don't know what to make of this really, because it just tells us a lot about how we take, for instance, decisions from the courts. Because if that has been ruled upon and it's still not been accepted, and they say they're waiting for what? The president to speak before this is accepted, I just can't connect the dots because it's a huge gap for me in terms of what's going on. So that's why, yeah, I was trying to ask, isn't it a flagrant disobedience to the rule of law here, to what the court has decided? Because if it's not, I don't know what else is. Just cannot tell what else is. The president is on the law. The law is the law here. So that's what I think of this.
Well, Chamberlain, I wish that, a lot of people, the majority of people were educated. I wish that majority of people in our country were educated because... Oh, because I think that, if you're educated and you're refusing to accept the new note, when I mean educated, I mean up to a certain level, perhaps even tertiary education, then it's what I think that smacks of is a distrust of the system. And you cannot blame the people for that. Because, yes, much as the Supreme Court, the courts in general, are to make the laws, to interpret the laws, the lawmakers make the laws, the executive executes the law. Don't forget that there was a stay of action initially, and I think the Supreme Court was saying something to the effect that all the notes should still be in circulation, pending when it heard everything. And while, everybody was interpreting it how they were interpreting, and lawyers were saying what it means that all the notes should be in circulation, the executive arm of government, led by the president, gave a broadcast saying only 200 Naira notes were going to be in circulation, the old 200 Naira notes, alongside the new notes. And if you go and check, most people will accept the old 200 Naira notes. Immediately, people started taking the old 200 Naira notes. Now we're in a situation whereby the Supreme Court has ruled, and we haven't heard so much as a word. Not like, the Supreme Court needs to be interpreted. After all, it has interpreted its own, interpreted the laws as they stand. But because people haven't heard, a lot of people haven't heard from the president, because we do not know what could happen in future. I don't know. I'm not one of those people, to be honest. I'm not one of those people. As far as I'm concerned, when the Supreme Court of the land has ruled, that is the judgment, But I am educated. There are many people in the markets, rural people who have not heard any of these things, who don't even understand what we're talking about when we talk about a Supreme Court. Who are they? You mean they exist? They don't even know what you're talking about.
Even to get the money, the old ones from the banks.
So right now, what is happening, those people usually are unbanked people. They're not people who are banked. They don't even have any connection with the formal system. Oftentimes, they deal heavily in cash. there is a huge disconnect between, our formal systems and the informal system.
I thought that's why the CBN came up with this Naira swap policy.
Well, I think that
areas.
right now the ball falls firmly in the court of the CBN, because there needs to be firmly in the court of the CBN and the president, who initially decided to do an announcement. When he did an announcement or he did a broadcast saying that the old 200 Naira notes were acceptable, people accepted those monies. So please, can he by all means, let people in the land know that the Supreme Court has ruled and he is following the rule of law, and allowing those notes circulate till the end of the year as the Supreme Court has ruled. That is extremely important, because as far as the people are concerned, these monies have lost legitimacy, given the deadline that was initially given. And that's why we're still where we are. People are just suffering unnecessarily. People are unable to get cash. When they do, the cash is refused on the streets.
So do we all have to wait for the president? What about the state governors themselves?
Oh, some of the state governors
what are they doing about it?
Some of the state governors are already beginning to do that. I know the other day we heard the governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, telling the people in his state that the Supreme Court don't talk, say, make we accept this money. He was speaking in the language that the people understand, that this money is okay to be spent till the end of the year. This is somebody who joined on the side of the federal government. They realize that there is work to be done. But how can the commander-in-chief be silent in the face of all that is happening and let governors do the work piecemeal? Where is the broadcast which he did, which was widely circulated in the first instance? It's the big question.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, right?
I had to go back to the judgment of the Supreme Court, really, just to be sure that we're reading this right.
Or that there is no ambiguity.
There's no ambiguity. It's very important. So March the 3rd, exactly 10 days ago, the Supreme Court, in Justice Emmanuel Agim actually read that lead judgment. And the judgment said that the president, in his broadcast, actually admitted that the policy is flawed with a lot of challenges. So that's some admittance on the part of the president, and held
an agreement by the judiciary.
And held that the unconstitutional use of powers by President Buhari on Naira redesigning has breached the fundamental rights of the Nigerian citizens in various ways. In fact, the court actually made quite a number of pronouncements on the president's decision, and it said that such use of powers by President Buhari is not permitted under democracy and in a society like Nigeria. It was a unanimous judgment. The court said that the president's disobedience of the February 8th order, which, Marpa referenced to, that I think that stay, is a sign of dictatorship. And, the pronouncement went on and on, but the court was quite clear on its position. Well, the CBN was not mentioned, and it's understandable. It's a dispute between the federal government and the states. I mean, that's why the Supreme Court had to wade in on this one. So, I mean, the buck, as we know, stops at the table of the president, time and again. He has even said it in that broadcast. He actually made it clear that he's been the one directing, guiding the CBN on what to do. The court is clear on the president's action. I don't know if it's going to be a precedent, because it looks like the court is, I mean, we understand government is a three-tier government, right? And they work together. They're meant to work together. They're meant to check each other. But it looks like on this one, it's like an independent lane. The lanes are not merging. But what hurts me the most is that the average Nigerian is at least at the receiving end of this. For a lot of us, we find ways. I mean, I had to buy corn yesterday, my dearly beloved corn, something I love so much. And because I need to transfer to the woman, you'll have to buy extra so that at least your transfer is worth it. It's easy for me. In fact, the woman told me that the last time I bought corn, yes, I am a big fan of roasted corn in this case. Please don't
judge me.
Don't judge me. I don't take my corn love out of context. But, she told me that the last time I actually paid her twice. It didn't even show on my bank app. There are challenges, but a lot of people cannot afford that. The court was clear, and it still baffles a lot of Nigerians what exactly is going on with the court judgment, and if the president is in order to carry on this way 10 days after the Supreme Court judgment.
I think the severity is lost on a good number of people. Just yesterday, I read in the news, like every one of us heard, of a broadcast practitioner, an elderly one at that, in Ibadan, who took a long walk simply because he couldn't get cash for transport, and he collapsed on the way, was rushed to the hospital, and we understand that his life was lost as a result. On the front pages of the papers this morning, we hear all sorts, one of which is that Nigeria's economy has shed 20 trillion naira as a result of the cash crunch. Especially affected are the fulcrum of Nigeria's economy, which are micro, small, and medium enterprises. And of course, there's also the interesting dynamic that some banks are actually receiving and paying old notes. However, some are rejecting old notes deposit, but they are dispensing old notes at the ATMs. It's very, very interesting conundrum. Okay. So it's like some banks are collecting and some banks are not collecting simply because of this confusion that we all have talked about here this morning. I'm not sure that at the end of this whole thing that the president will be proud of what he has done or he is doing. Listening to Governor El-Rufai of Kaduna State saying, we are proud of what we are doing. And he said, no longer will any president or government come and say this, especially about a matter like this. I mean, you went back to that Supreme Court judgment. I went to look for precedents of disobedience to court orders. And guess what? There are quite a few in this republic, even in this government, as far back as 2019. So the question you want to ask then is, what is the basis? Can Nigerians at least have an idea why this is happening? That word that Maupe does not want to use, we don't want to use, is right there in our faces. What in the world is going on? Can someone please, especially from the presidency, tell Nigerians why this is happening? What in the world is going on? Chamberlain.
Well. It is a big one, really, and that is why it's the lead story on the front page of New Telegraph this morning. It's a Naira policy, and it reads, failure to obey court order will lead to anarchy. ACF warns Buhari. So, and then you get to see some of the writer here says, 10 days long enough for FG to comply. Call banks to order, Adeleke tells CBN. Abia government threatens to sanction business owners, others that reject old currencies, as Ondo residents urge Akeredolu to compel lenders to accept old notes. You know, this just goes beyond several things going on here. If for some of the governors who have spoken, and if the states are not complying, people in the states are not complying, and then the governors who themselves have not even spoken up about some of these things, it just leaves a big question mark concerning all of what they had told us about how they jostle to serve, ensure that things go right. It's a big question, really. So is the president not aware of what is going on in the country at the moment? So look, it raises way more questions because, I mean, the president-elect is president-elect. He can't be the one making any policy statement because he's not been sworn in. Everybody knows what is expected of him. But
if the president is not aware, what about the CBN governor?
Because, for instance, CBN governor at least should have gone to the president and said, Mr. President, this is the
situation we have at hand.
And how do we proceed with this? So, or could he have gone? Or what has happened? People don't know. People don't know. They just want to find out why are they not accepting these old currencies as the court has directed. Because who knows how long this is going to go on for, this non-acceptance of the old notes. Because don't forget, the court says up until December 31. So people need to make out all of that time, take advantage of the rulings early enough to make all the plans. So if there's a lot of delay now, who knows what else we might expect? Or are we supposed to wait until after May 29 before we start accepting some of these things? Or are people already packing their bags and calling the removal vans on their way out saying, your problem, go deal with it? We don't want to believe that that is the case here, but something needs to be done as soon as yesterday. as a matter of fact, because as this lead headline reads, you never know.
This is a very horrid situation, Chamberlain.
It is, because you have received a lot of mails, actually.
Where people are
last week.
buying their
Some
own currency.
They buy, what, 10,000 naira for 30,000? No, 10,000 naira for
3,000 naira.
And I thought, wait a minute, this is ridiculous. In the same country?
30%, yes.
In the same country?
Yes, I was speaking to somebody who might fall under the vulnerable class yesterday, and she told me that, in her church, there was a POS woman who was selling this currency, providing this currency. 1,000 naira was all she was giving to one person. You couldn't buy more than 1,000 naira, and it cost 300 naira to buy 1,000 naira.
I thought they were arresting people who were doing this previously.
Arresting. Look, this is where we are, and I don't know whether I don't know whether we currently have leaders. If we do, can somebody tell us what is happening in our country where we're buying our own legal tender? I don't think that this was the plan. This was not the policy that as it was intended. If this is not the policy as it was intended and it has finally gotten out of hand, can somebody just let us know what is happening and what solutions they have at hand? Because this is totally unacceptable. Look at this. The Abuja Inquirer perhaps is putting things in perspective for us. The lead headline says, Q Nation. That is it. That's what you have on the front page. Long lines everywhere, from banks, fuel stations to hospitals. You have to ask, really, how much more can a people take? How much more can a people take? Long lines everywhere, from banks, fuel stations to hospitals. In fairness to the fuel people, I don't know what is happening elsewhere in the country, but in Abuja, we saw an attempt to try and make sure that all the filling stations were wet. So there's still queues, but they're not as long as we saw last week. There's still queues in most of the stations. I mean, on my way to work this morning, I still saw a few, but they were shorter than what I saw most of last week coming to work. But we're still queuing. It's still a queue nonetheless. When we asked NNPC, they said, it's because we didn't take into cognizance the elections that was coming. There was a break in supply. Please, I hope they have planned.
For this weekend,
For this weekend, because it's not something that is falling upon us. We know before it comes that there's going to be an election. I hope that there is a plan in place. But this is what the Abuja Inquirer is covering for us this morning. Here's the lead story. As APC meets lawmakers-elect calls for Adamu's resignation grow. It's on page 3 of the paper. You have a number of other stories just beneath the nameplate there. And you also see there Naira redesign. As Buhari keeps Nigerians waiting, ACF warns of anarchy. So whether or not you like it, the president has to speak. He has to at least accept that he has accepted the judgment of the Supreme Court and will implement accordingly. Page 3 is where we'll find details there. They have a number of other stories for you, but I'll leave you to do that yourself. That will be it for the Abuja Inquirer.
We'll take a look at the Daily Times next. The Daily Times has this one as its lead story. Naira external reserves stumble over high demand for forex. So, I mean, that's a big story, really. You can't take that away. As commercial banks slash BTA by 50% to $2,000. So this is a Naira from an outside view now. I mean, we know the Naira from an inside view. We know what we go through, really. What do they call it now? The internal exchange rate now? Okay, it's not forex now.
I mean,
I don't know. Local X, if there's anything like that.
Is there a precedent in the world for this? Anywhere in the world?
Well, Nigeria is a peculiar country. I mean, in different ways. India has gone through its own fair share of currency redesign, but not like Nigeria.
Like
there's lots of peculiarities with Nigeria. So, I mean, but that's where we are. That's the big story. It's important to catch up on all of them as much as you can. So, I mean, you approach things from an informed, point of view and hold government accountable. So that's a big one. But then beside the big picture, you see 10 days after Supreme Court verdict, Nigerians still rejecting old notes, businesses crumbling. Yeah, that's the reality for a lot of Nigerians. And just one more for you, just at the top of the front page. Presidential poll LP, that's Labour Party, INEC set for showdown over access to election materials. So it's been, a lot of back and forth on this election materials, and just wonder again, there's so much happening, there's so much to grapple with, so much to wrap your head around, but I'll leave it there for the Daily Times.
The Guardian newspaper is also interested in the cash crunch story, and how does it lead? Check it out. Economy sheds 20 trillion naira as policy weakens productivity and SMEs. I mean, hey, we've been talking about a more productive Nigeria for how long now? And with all of the policies that government has itself put out to ease doing business, ease work, give loans, anchor borrowers program, and all those things, it would seem like all of that now is literally choked, right? Literally held by the jugular. So it all freezes. But that's what you have on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Look at the writers. NECA says small businesses going into extinction. Hitherto, an average SME has a lifespan of five years.
You wonder what it is now?
I wonder what it is now. NLC says government undermining productivity. CPPE calls on Buhari to intervene. Food factories shut down, lose billions. We use our wages to buy money for transport fare, say factory workers. That's the lead story on the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning. And there are several other stories you can choose and pick from, but I'll leave it to you to do your pick.
Rex to brief INEC chairman on BVAS reconfiguration today. Upload of presidential results suffers glitches on IREV. APC groups warn against planned protests by LP supporters, say it's invitation to crisis. Okay, make of that what you will. But of course, the big question mark about BVAS. Yes, the commission, time and again, has spoken up about. In fact, lots of people have already said, look, there's got to be no excuses this weekend. Absolutely no excuses this weekend concerning what was supposed to have been done. Just above this list story, Senate President Tinubu, APC leaders, placate Christians Southeast. That featured here. Naira notes, obey Supreme Court order. ACF tells PMB. So we also get to see that there. Let's see. Police for others killed in Kaduna, Katsina attacks. Also unfortunate scenario. So just so many questions about some of what's playing out there. You just keep wondering. Kind of issues that comes up time and again. You just wonder and befuddles one really. But that is leadership this morning.
Well, Vanguard looks at something else this morning. They're focusing more on politics. Tinubu bids to form government of national unity. Southeast, South-South being considered for Senate presidency to provide direction for zoning of speakership. Others, meeting sensitive to religious balancing. So you see the meeting sensitive to religious balancing. Bajabia Mila tipped as chief of staff. Governor El Rufai, SGF. So these are all the permutations you're seeing right there. Tinubu's support groups root for Betara as speaker. So you find details on page 5 of the paper. Well, the business community are also setting their own agenda. Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, market operators, others, list agenda for incoming government. Removal of fuel subsidy, multiple exchange rates, privatization rank high. We seek balance of attention between money, capital markets, as according to stockbrokers. Multiple taxation, others must be addressed to boost investors' confidence. That's according to MAN, as Fidelity Bank chairman calls for return of margin lending. So you find all of the details on page 20 of the paper. Look at this gas flare commercialization program threatened. That's according to an investigation. A number of stories on the side there On top of the nameplate, they have a number more, but I'm going to look at this one for you. Gunmen kill 36 in Kaduna, Katsina. I mean, people are still losing their lives. Security is still on the front burner. These are human beings. While we're talking about cash crunch, no fuel, etc., etc., 36 people would not be able to get cash even if they wanted to. Now, it will not be left for their families. What exactly has happened? I want to flip to page 10 of the paper. And perhaps in the, I don't know that Nigeria has Women History Month, but if we did, it's significant that we should keep stories like this. Franca Afegbua, Nigeria's first female senator, dies at 79. May her soul rest in peace. Page 4 is where you'll find details. Let's leave it there for Vanguard newspapers.
Well, indeed, but this Nigeria has this story as the big one. It's looking forward, really. APC, zoning of NAS offices called for Adamu's resignation top agenda. So as much as, there's a lot of talk about cash crunch and all of that, I mean, politicians still doing what they do best. NWC elected lawmakers meet Tinubu today. Rights activists demand national chairman's ouster. Okay. Rights activists?
Is this another here we go again?
Well, another 4 years is upon us. And as I said, the politicians are doing what they know how to do best. Citizens should do what they should do best, which is hold government accountable. So I think that's also important. Page 2, and that story from Kaduna also makes its way to the front page. Another angle to it, 10 corpses uncovered after Kaduna deadly attacks, curfew imposed on communities. And, of course, oh dear, it's now a tongue twister. Cash crunch is also on the front page. Hits Nigerians harder. Worshippers resort to churches, mosques for succor as tithes, offerings drop.
Meanwhile, most organizations, historically, churches and mosques were missionary outlets that offer some kind of support to the community anyway, health services, education services, and all of that. Now they also, that's aside from the benevolence work they had done hitherto. So I don't even know where to go with all of this.
I wanted to say this saying, the pressure is getting, what they say.
Everywhere.
Let me just move on top of the nameplate. And this is important because now that we're not doing a lot of cash, we have to do lots of transactions digitally with your debit card and all of that. Don't expose your debit card numbers and CVV. NDIC warns bank customers. So let me just break it down. The CVV is you have 3 digits at the back of your card. So that's your CVV. NDIC, of course, is the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Commission. That's not on your card, but the CVV is very important, and the numbers. So please make sure you protect them at all costs, because I think that so far people are finding ways to cheat people, to dupe people using their debit card. So please be careful, all right? That's our own 1 penny.
Yeah,
one cover this morning.
And for you to also help those who don't know about these things, because it's so easy for some people who don't know to just give their cards to someone and go do with it for me whatever I'd want you to do and all of that. Especially if it's your primary card, not what I would call the slave cards.
Okay.
Not the. You have your own primary card, and then you have the utility cards. That's what I'm calling it.
Oh, wow. That's how it works?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
So you have a primary account,
all right,
but you can put some money into a utility card.
Oh, I see.
And then take that out.
So your money is safe.
So your primary money is safe.
Pardon me, I should mention this, by the way, on Pulse coverage. We draw 48-hour shutdown threat on broadcast stations. Serap tells Buhari. Page 13, in case you're wondering, where's that coming from? Page 13 should give you more details. That's this Nigeria.
And flip to Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Malcolm mentioned this earlier about fuel scarcity. Well, it's right there on the front page of Daily Trust newspaper. 48 days after, Buhari's committee fails to end petrol scarcity. That story is on page 4. Can someone please send the president a text in case, maybe he's watching the TV and he knows, okay, I'm going to do this, and then maybe he gets into office, he doesn't remember or something. Someone send him a text and say, Mr. President, don't forget you promised to do this, so that Nigerians can have the succor the president promised. Right? Howdy, what's funny? Look at the riders.
Oh,
Subsidy gulped 2.4 trillion naira in 6 months. Excuse me. Motorists buy at 300 naira per litre in Kaduna. Others, presidency mum. That's the lead of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning.
Well, the president's aide has time and again said the president is fully aware of what's going on in the country. That, I mean, why do people think he's not? I mean, I've heard that not once. So, I mean,
even from the president, I mean,
sending him a text message.
Sometimes he could forget to do what he wants to do. So, so in case this one slipped him, I mean, just saying. Right under the nameplate, among other stories, ACF to Buhari, Naira redesign policy can damage your credentials. A good number of people would agree with that because the president says he wants to leave a legacy. What kind of legacy would people want to remember him for now? It's right there on the front page of the paper. And right under those pictures of queues, as Malpa says, it's the pictures worth 1,000 words. Those pictures are of few queues in Abuja, in Nasarawa, and in Lokoja. The one in Lokoja shows a queue of kegs, petrol kegs. PNID, Nigeria's $11 billion trial ends with alleged massive bribes and missing witnesses. Missing witnesses, what does that mean? Find the details on page 11. No, that's page 35 of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Chamberlain?
Take a look at News Direct. Then a legal tender crisis. ATMs dispense old notes as banks reject old notes deposit.
So banks,
dear.
I mean, banks cannot be said to be people who are not educated. So, you know, there's certainly a lacuna somewhere. The Supreme Court has spoken, yet banks are, you know, flagrantly
But the same banks
are the ones loading the ATMs.
Exactly.
So, I mean, how can you pick and choose?
You load the ATMs with the old notes, but you will not accept the ATMs.
There is a disdain going on somewhere for the Nigerian people. Yeah, there is a disdain and I don't know how to put it now. Because I know that those bankers too are Nigerians, and maybe that's not really their wish, but they're certainly acting on directives.
So,
I mean, the average banker doesn't decide what he or she does. He or she is just an employee. Maybe that is coming from the very top. And the very top, of course, might be getting orders from elsewhere. I mean, these people are directly regulated by the CBN. So, I mean, there's a whole chain of implication as to what this means.
Yeah.
If banks are, you know, putting out this monies in ATMs, but are refusing to collect it, there is, you know, grave implications for what it is that the banks are doing. I hope they realize the implications. I hope they do.
Well, to add to that, look at the riders. Directs customers to follow CBN guidelines for deposits. Stakeholders lament failure of electronic platform. Nigerian economy loses 20 trillion naira over cash crisis. Muda Yusuf. NSCDC raises concerns over circulation of fake redesigned naira notes, because we know that the banks themselves, when the heat of this crisis previously, weeks ago, they all kept on saying, we follow directives, we follow directives. So it means, it comes across then as though this is a directive from their regulatory authority, that, or from their bosses, as it were, to load the ATMs with the old notes, don't accept ATM deposits, because that is what is going on. Or else, it means they then need to tell us what really is going on. Are they acting on orders? Are they acting on their own? So CBN, I think CBN needs to now clear the air on these matters. So if they are flouting the law, their regulatory body has got to speak up. If their regulatory body is mum, it means silence can be interpreted as consent. So many things here that needs to be clarified. But we'll keep tabs on that as we proceed. So there you go. That is our new News Direct this morning, and that ends a look at some of the dailies here this morning. Well, yes, you can always go ahead and tell us what's going on in your locality, your community. We'd like to hear from you. So that ends it with the papers. We will be back in a moment. Stay with us.
Our website, channelstv.com, has more information on our top stories and others. Subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using your mobile device browser. Or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. You can also watch us via your smart TV platforms on Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, and Roku. Channels Television, ubiquitous. Stay connected to the world with Channels TV Podcast and get all the trending stories. Simply log on to channelstv.com, click on podcast, select the program of your choice, and listen. Our podcast is available on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Tap the expertise you trust. Touch the stories that touch you. Anytime, anywhere.
Deputies to sign the peace accord.
Governorship candidates in Bauchi State are pending their signatures to a written commitment for a peaceful electioneering process.
To the agenda of the program, that is.
On the same day the peace accord was signed, violence broke out during the governorship campaign of the All Progressives Congress in Duguri, Al-Kalewi local government area, leaving one person dead. Part of the peace accord reads that they are desirous of taking proactive measures to prevent any form of violence before, during, and after the election.
I'm delighted to be part of this.
The violent incident in Duguri leaves much to be desired about their commitments. The candidates share concerns on what ingredients is required for peace to reign beyond just signing a written document.
We plead that this election should be free of logistic problems. We hope the equipment will work, and then of course materials will reach their destinations on time. We hope our citizens will not be disenfranchised.
Once there is an iota of unfairness in the process, this may disrupt what we have just signed.
That peace is not the absence of violence, but the absence of justice. So we expect justice from all of you.
The police and the INEC give their words.
On the side of the security, we have promised to be very, very fair and humble. The politicians, I will wish that you will be fully guided by the provision of Electoral Act 2022.
We do assure you all the polling unit will work with the beavers, and then the beavers will work. We assure you that, and then the poll will be in good time.
The police in the state is vowing to sanction anyone who incites others to act in a disorderly manner. The penalty is pegged at a maximum fine of 500,000 naira or imprisonment for a term of 12 months or both. Hajara Aliyu, Channels Television News.
Tune in to Just Nigeria and get the lowdown on the issues that really matter.
You have the world at your fingertips.
Check out the Nigerians shaping the future at home and around the world.
What inspired the film was my life story.
And hear from those voices without a platform.
That I lost my brother.
This is your country.
Anything you set your mind to, you can bring to life.
This is Just Nigeria, a partnership between the BBC and Channels TV every Wednesday at 9 p.m.
The PDP.
This press conference is organized by the governorship candidate of the Labour Party in Taraba State, Mr. Philip Munlip. He is here to announce his endorsement of the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Abu.
The Taraba State leadership of the CPPN, after critically examining the gubernatorial candidates and looked at their antecedent and capacity for the forthcoming governorship election, has decided to support the candidacy of Lieutenant Colonel Abu Kefas, PhD, of the People's Democratic Party.
However, his decision is not going down well with the party's leadership, who believe his action is motivated by personal gains.
Philip Mulip is not the leader of Labour Party or gubernatorial candidate of Labour Party in the state. Thus, his claim that the party leadership in the state and himself endorse the PDP candidate is highest mischief and of no effect, as the party at no time in the state has abandoned her principal, Peter Obi, or their guest to take over the government of Taraba come 18 March 2023.
In a related development, the All Progressives Congress in Taraba State says the coast is now clear for its governorship candidate, Senator Emmanuel Bauchi, to contest the governorship election on Saturday.
As people who respect the rule of law, who respect the court, we decided to go to court to seek clarification from INEC itself, because we always thought, and truly too, that INEC cannot assume the powers of the court. INEC has no right under the Constitution or the Electoral Act to refuse a name submitted by a political party. It is entirely the prerogative of the political party to produce candidates for elective positions in the country. Everybody knows that this is the law. And since that name was resubmitted to INEC, there has never been any a challenge in court. Nobody has gone to court to challenge the outcome of the primaries as of the time I'm speaking here.
Legal tussles had trailed the emergence of the party's governorship candidate, and the party believes all that is now behind as they hope to emerge victorious on Saturday, March 18.
Welcome back. Yes, indeed, we pick off with developments in Taraba State concerning Labour Party. So we've got James Benjamin, who is the Secretary of Labour Party in Taraba. He joins us first, but we'll get others joining us as we progress. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. Well, perhaps we should start by telling us, well, what is the current situation now? Because it appears there are two people laying claim to the party's candidacy in Taraba State on the party. What's the situation now?
Thank you, Mr. Chamberlain, for having me. The truth of the matter is this. Philip Mulip, Evangelist Philip Mulip, I beg your pardon, was our party's candidate for governorship. But at some point, we got to have a resolution looking at the nature of Taraba State. If we're going to field a candidate that can give PDP a run for whatever they think they have, we need somebody with the war chest, somebody with the records, somebody with the pedigree, somebody with the political abilities, like Joel Kenya, that can come on board and actually make us succeed in this election. And so that was how we reached a consensus. In fact, the meeting was held with the Middle Belt leadership, and they advised Evangelist Philip Mulu to pick up a senatorial ticket in Taraba Central Zone, which he agreed. And from there, they went to court, Federal High Court, and he wrote his withdrawal letter from the governorship race and backed it up with an affidavit. And that was how the whole thing went. And we were surprised that in the middle of the thing, he just turned and said he wrote the withdrawal, this thing under duress. You know, I'm taken aback. I don't understand what duress means in this concept. So, but right now, the party has conducted primaries, and which the court case has dissolved all of them, and ordered us to conduct another fresh primaries, which we did again, I think sometimes last month we did. And at the eve of the primaries, Evangelist Philip Mulu and his team withdrew that they are not going to be party to that primaries again. We went ahead and did the primaries, and distinguished Senator Joel Kenya won with a landslide. And so that is where we are. And right now, so far we are concerned in Taraba State, he is our candidate.
Well, what happens to him, because he still insists that he is the candidate, that he is going to go ahead and contest that elections. In fact, the court ruling also, you didn't tell us about that court decision concerning himself and Philip, because the senator is challenging that court decision which affirms him as the candidate. Isn't that the case?
Now, what is there is he went to court, and the court disqualify and nullify everything we did. And so we organized a fresh primary for both of them, so that the whole thing can be done and dusted. And so, like I said earlier, at the eve of the primaries, he withdrew. And so we had to go ahead to conduct the primaries again, the fresh primaries this time around. And that brought up distinguished Senator Joel Kenya again as our governorship candidate. And right now what we are hearing in the party is that he has gone to court again to challenge that. You know, Evangelist Philip Mulu is somebody I respect so much and I hold in high esteem. But whatever is pushing up some of these strategies is something we are yet to understand. But I know that he knows what he's doing, and he's going to do the right thing when the time comes.
Yeah. I'm just wondering that if the House is still not together before the governorship elections, which is just coming up this Saturday, how do you think you're going to fare at the polls? Because we also see that you're up against, you know, major political parties like the APC and the PDP. And we saw how the PDP fared in the presidential elections. I mean, there will be grave concerns for your party if the House is still not together, even at this time.
Thank you very much, Maokwe. I want to assure you that our candidate, distinguished Senator Joel Kenya, is ready. In the history of Taraba politics, if you follow the history of Taraba politics, this is the only candidate that gave, during the 2011 election, that gave PDP a run for whatever they hold as their pride. He gave them a serious shocker during that election. So he has what it takes. In fact, as I'm talking to you, Senator Joel Kenya only has two positions that he has not held before. He is a grassroots politician. The only two positions are just governorship and the presidency. And so he has the track record, he has the character, he has the capacity, he has everything it takes to give the PDP and the APC and the SDP and the NPP. Taraba race is not like the federal presidential race. Taraba is the 5-horse race. We have the PDP flagged by a retired Colonel Kefasabu. We have the APC flagged by distinguished Senator Emmanuel Bacha. We have the SDP flagged by House of Rep member Baido. We have also the NMPP flagged by Professor Yade, former VC Taraba State University. But I assure you that Joel Kenya has the war chest to take them up on any platform and defeat them.
When you talk about war chest, I don't know whether you're speaking of money or you're speaking of character. Well, without prejudice to the competency of your candidates, you know, in the upcoming elections, you haven't quite addressed the fact that you know, the party did not exactly give such a fantastic show. And all of these parties which you mentioned, which you say your candidates are up against, were also represented in the presidential elections. But we saw that it was the PDP that took the cake at the end of the day in Taraba State. So isn't this fighting a losing battle already? Or do you have a different explanation for it?
Now, there's a different explanation. You have to understand. Every politics is local. Now, this is Taraba politics. This is where the people would have to decide in Taraba who would take over the reins of leadership come 29th May. And Jueli Kenya is one of the best qualified among them. Like I told you, he's a grassroots politician in the state. If you look at our victory in Taraba State, in the presidential election, a chunk of the votes that made us come second in that presidential election in Taraba State came from Southern Taraba. That's where he represented as a senator. And most especially Okari, that was where the chunk of the vote came out from. And I assure you that he is loved by people in Taraba State, and people are desirous to have him come to lead the affairs of Taraba State and move Taraba to the right direction.
Well, we do know that for, you know, the governorship elections, it will take more than winning a local government or two for you to be able to, you know, win over an entire state. You have said that in Taraba is a 5-horse race. So it's going to be interesting to see how your candidate will be able to win 25% into thirds of the state. What are his plans in that direction?
Now, his plans are always on the bear. He always explains what he wants to come on board to do. He's somebody that is focused. He's somebody that knows what he wants to do, when he wants to do, how he wants to do it. And he has his plans. Because if you look at what Taraba is going through now, Taraba needs a leader that is focused, a leader that has the capacity to carry out some developmental projects in the state. And Jueli Kenya has all these qualities. Taraba is a state that you can say, when we finance the agricultural sector of Taraba State, Taraba can feed Nigeria. And Taraba has tourism abilities. The Mambila Plateau in Sardona local government is something else. The Unyo Fishing Festival is something else. And these are things that he wants to come on board and finance so that Taribians will enjoy the dividends of democracy. Be excited to my leader at the end.
Well, my colleagues in Lagos also have questions for you.
Mr. Benjamin, I'd like to just be clear on this court issue, because, I mean, there's been a lot of back and forth, and dates back all the way to last year. So on the 9th of February, it was reported that Senator Joel Kenya will appeal the judgment of a federal high court, Jalingo, which invalidated his nomination for this coming governorship election. You say another primary was conducted. Does he still have a case he's appealing in court, that particular case now?
Now, when we said he has another primary came, the primary actually came up to douse the tension. The primary came up to settle the whole scores, and the two of them were invited on that fresh primaries, so that, you know, the whole thing can be sorted out. And unfortunately, I don't know why, but at the eve of the primaries, Evangelist Philip Muli decided to withdraw, so we don't know why.
Pardon me, I understand that point. You made that point. I'm talking about the court case now. Does Senator Joel Kenya still have an appeal pending in court, still being heard in court now?
Right now, I'm not privy to that information, but as I told you earlier on, where he's moving on with his activities, with his campaign activities, and things are going on fine for us in this part of the past.
So, I mean, Markwe has raised the question as to how this will affect the performance of your party. But Evangelist Monlip, as you said earlier on, says, well, his name was published by INEC, so it's, I mean, quite simple as to who the candidate of your party is for that election. Well, for Senator Kenya, he's relying on that primary, the fresh one, which you said was conducted by your party. But my concern is this endorsement now by Evangelist Monlip of the PDP's candidates. And naturally, you know how that plays into the minds of those who will be, I mean, the voters generally. And I wonder for you, seeing Evangelist Monlip actually endorsing, in fact, he had the banner of the PDP right behind him. First, what does that say about his membership of the party? And also, how is the party handling this? How much of the party structure is with him on that one, and how much are not with him?
If you look at the press conference he gave endorsing the candidature of the PDP, it's within his rights to do that. Like Ayaran said, everyone has the right to make his decision, but none has the right to force his decision on others. It is within his purview to take that decision. But I assure you, it's not scratching the party in any way. The party is still focused. The party, we are closing ranks together with the PCC. We are closing ranks together with all our candidates across board. We are closing ranks with all the local government chairmen and ward leaders and stakeholders. Everybody is on the same page to ensure the victory of the party come 18th of March. Excellent.
So help me understand this, Mr. Benjamin, because for a lot of people, they have said that, well, they've not actually seen photos, clips. They've not really seen your candidate, Senator Kenya, actually campaigning in Taraba State. And they're asking if he's really serious about governing Taraba. I'd like you to speak to that because, I mean, we know how important campaigning, moving around is for any candidate at any level. So what sort of campaigning has he been doing for a lot of people in Taraba? But they said they've not seen that just yet.
Banners is not what will make people to vote for you. Posters are not what will make people vote for you. Kenya is somebody who is endeared to the people. He is at the heart of the people. And so some of this, we have our strategies, and we are keeping our cards close to our chest, and we're working them out one by one. And the 11th hour in politics can be a game changer. So we're doing our underground work. We're carrying our political campaigns here and there at the low, but we're coming out, and it's going to be the game changer for everybody.
Well, Mr. Benjamin, help me understand exactly how that goes, because at the moment we know that the governor of Taraba State is a member of the PDP, and the last election, the presidential election of 25th of last month, was won by the PDP. The Labour Party is largely unknown in a number of places, at least so many people believe. So your candidate coming out, as my colleague has asked you here, Kadi, asking you, I don't even know if anyone can put a face to the identity of your candidate. How many people outside of Taraba, even those in Taraba, can put a face to it? So what exactly are you doing, is your party doing, to first of all erase the word that has gone out from Mr. Monlip about the supporting the PDP candidate and the massive campaign that is needed, because it's just about 6 days or thereabout before the elections?
Let me respond to the statement you made that our candidate is popular. Make no mistake about that. Joeli Kenya is not the first timer on the scene. This is somebody who has done grassroots politics, from member, Federal House of Rep to senator, has become a minister of the Federal Republic during President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, 2014 thereabout. So this is a politician to reckon with so far Taraba politics is concerned. So he is well known. Like I said, in 2011, one of the fiercest political race was in 2011, and so he is known by Tarabians. And I assure you, Tarabians are aware that our candidate is on board for this race. And what will come out will be exactly what was in the national, where people were saying Labour Party had no structure, Labour Party had no this, had no that. And at the end of the day, they were shocked at the result. It's not time to make noise. It's time to deploy your strategy and deploy them efficiently. So Johnny Kenya is in the race, and the result of 18th of March will be the judge.
Pardon me, let me just read this comment by a former PDP deputy chairman, Elia Agabi, who says that the former Minister of Labour and Productivity, Senator Kenya, should not be taken seriously, saying that he's a serial decampee from PDP. He went to ACN, returned to PDP, and went to ABGA. He returned to APC and later left for the PDP, and said that, in fact, in this current dispensation, he had sought a governorship ticket on the platform of the PDP, but lost. He then migrated to the NNPP and again failed to grab the ticket, and now he has decamped to the Labour Party. How does that character, which has been described here, tell on that, the policy or the ideology, I should say, of the Labour Party, which I imagine is from the grassroots up until the national level, the presidential candidate of your party?
It is, everybody has the right to his opinion about anybody. So if that's his opinion, I leave it to him. But other people have their different opinion about distinguished Senator Joel Kenya. And I wouldn't want to go on and forward about why he decamped or whatever he decamped. Everybody has rights of association. So if the platform he is, it will not be comfortable enough or to be a better launch pad for him to achieve what he wants to achieve, he has the right to change. Politicians have been changing from one party to another. It's all about knowing when you are here and the principle does not align with your principle, you move to a better place. So that's what I have to say on this matter.
But doesn't that in a way indicate that, Caribbeans may not be able to trust him to keep to whatever policy or decision that he holds? If he can move from one party to the other, I've almost counted about 10 of those transitions right now. So I'm wondering, what do you think people will make of him if he becomes governor of Taraba State and he moves from party to party the way he has moved, as my colleague has listed out here? What does that say of his capacity to keep his word and keep whatever policy or position he holds on a particular matter in favor of Tarabians, as you put it?
Party politics is a different body. Leadership and principles are different body. So when he becomes the governor of Taraba State, he has his duties cut out for him. It's not about switching. He's a principled man. Anybody that knows Senator Joel Kenya knows he's a principled man. And he's a man that has people at heart. He's passionate to help people come out of poverty, come out of penury. He's passionate to see people, the state develop. And he has proven that on many platforms as he rises from on leadership ladder up to the level of the Minister of Labour. So he has proven that on every platform. So the issue of him, just give him the leadership and you will understand what we mean by Joel Kenya being the man for the moment.
Benjamin, just hold on a minute. Let's bring in Philip Munlip, who is in question also. He joins us virtually as well. Good morning, Evangelist Philip Munlip. Thank you for joining us on the program today.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, so from what we hear of James Benjamin, as an evangelist, your word is supposed to be your bond. But it comes across as though that has not been the case, because he says you had agreed to step down and then go with the agreement of the party. But along the way, you pulled off and said, no, you will not be a party to this. So could you tell us what is going on?
I'm so glad that you brought that aspect of it, because I think James is not, Benjamin James is not properly informed about the whole process. And also the person he is speaking about. The entire thing actually started in a way that by the time I begin to unfold the depths of it, it will bring James to a point that he shouldn't have even made the statements he did. I got the ticket of the Labour Party as a consensus candidate. And somewhere along the line, in the early part of August, the chairperson of the party began to mute or plan for my replacement without due cause. And she made some statements which were not properly justified. I ran into a letter that was written by the National Office on the 2nd of August, asking, which she actually informed them, telling them that I have withdrawn from the race, and I have written a letter of withdrawal, and a fresh primary should be conducted, which was not true. And she came to put pressure on me. At the time she was making this statement, I had not discovered that document, but eventually I did. So you see, you have a party that wants to change the political narrative of this country. You have a party that wants to redefine the politics of Nigeria. You have a party that wants to have good governance, and a chairperson who builds capacity on falsehood. I think there's something wrong about that. Beyond that, how did Joel came into the scene? Somehow she went to woo Joel to come in, to replace my person. And they were building on falsehood. And when I made that discovery, I went to court to retrieve the letter they said I wrote with an affidavit, which was properly submitted to the National Office, National Party Office. And there I was. My name remained in the INEC portal until on the 4th of October, when the final list was supposed to be published, and I discovered that Joel came with a court order that my name was replaced. So I decided to seek redress in court. And by the special grace of God, the court granted my request. But with the judge actually said a primary should be conducted. But what was the judgment order? The judgment order was that Joel's name should not be submitted to INEC. INEC were in the court, and they knew about it. The second thing was that Joel was found guilty of double nomination. He had contested in PDP, like it was earlier said. He also went to NNPP, secured a senatorial ticket, and now to Labour. And so, as far as the court was concerned, Joel was not qualified.
Yeah, but Mr. Philip,
even though
Mr. Monlip,
yeah.
In that, when you say that he was found to have double nomination, I'm sure you're also aware of the parts that the party, your party, was arguing. How is it that the court will listen to another party, in that's the PDP specifically now, who were arguing? They say they were arguing in your favor against the candidates who Labour Party wanted. So they were wondering what the connection is. And then they now say, oh, is that why you decided to step down and throw your weight behind the PDP because they were arguing in your behalf? Was this the plan all along?
Let me put the record straight. I went to court. PDP went to court on two different notes. We only met in court. The judge ruled in my favor, just like he ruled in the favor of the PDP. So at no point did I sit with PDP to drag Joel to court. The truth still remains that I went to seek justice in court. And so my decision and the people around me to support PDP was based on the reality on ground and the falsehood that the party has not been able to establish. Now, after the ruling at the Federal High Court, which was granted in my favor, and a request for a fresh primaries was to be done, the Labour Party decided not to properly inform me about the primaries arrangement. In fact, they kept the information away from me. It was like a direct connivance between the party, Joel, and, to edge me out of the entire thing. However, it might also interest you to know that I was not informed of I was not officially informed of the primaries. I only got to know, you see,
okay, so
about it
pardon me to jump in, you were not officially informed, as you say, but you were informed because Mr. Benjamin says that you began the process of participating and then pulled out. Why?
No, that was not true.
Oh.
That was not true. I went to the national office to seek the letter of the primaries. I was not given. Here in the state, the chairperson did not at any point in time got across to me about the primaries. And let it also be known that INEC was not in the primaries. So it was an action in fidelity.
So could you tell us then, why did you decide to pull out and support PDP?
Yes, I did so on two grounds. Number one, I went back to court to seek the interpretation of the judgment and to file a case against the primaries that was conducted. Secondly, I had made an appeal to the Federal High Court, seeking, to establish the fact that some of the things I sought in the review were not granted. And what was it? I had actually sought for the full restoration of my candidate, which was not granted me, but rather that we should go for a fresh primaries. Now, on this note, the court process had delayed to the point at which I made that endorsement, because I sat with all the people that are around about me and to take a decision, given the fact that the governorship election was supposed to take place last Saturday. And so we all sat down and decided to endorse the PDP according to our judgment, who seems to be a better candidate than most of the candidates that were on ground. Now, may I also add this, that I hear them talk about the Labour Party. I lead the entire support group in the state under the guise of CBBN. It was not an individual decision. It was a decision of all the support group members. We selected members from the 168 wards of Taraba State, and one single members from all the 16 local government and 2 development areas of Taraba State. And we sat.
But at the moment,
to take the,
your party, Labour Party, says you are not the governorship candidate. You're not their candidate, and that Senator Kenya is the candidate. So can you lay claim to the candidature, especially if the matter has not been finally decided?
Now, as far as this matter is concerned, it is established that we're in court. And if we're in court, the courts are yet to put the matter to bear. So that informed why I had to endorse the PDP candidate.
This is very interesting. It gets even more interesting by the day. So while you're in court, you're already endorsing another candidate of another political party. Isn't that anti-party?
You won't call that anti-party, because I have people that are run about me. And as a leader of the support group called CBBN, I have people to cater for. And we took a decision unanimously, given the situation in the state, given also the fact that Joel has not been established as the authentic candidate. So if the court has not yet granted the appeal that I went to seek, at least we should vote for somebody who is credible. And as far as we are concerned, the most credible candidate in this matter was the PDP candidate.
So you'd rather support the candidate of another political party than support the candidate of your own political party?
Because I am actually supposed to be the candidate by the reason of the judgment. And let me also bring to bear.
In other words, sir, sorry to interrupt you. In other words, if I cannot have it, then nobody else on my party will have it. I'd rather support another party. That's essentially what you're saying.
That is, to some extent, not quite. because I clearly had somebody say, Joel had not gone around the state. I mean, first of all, somebody should find out from Joel, what is his strength in terms of the forthcoming election on ground? He's not been there. He's all the way been in Abuja. And as far as the political scenario in Taraba State is, you know, we have not seen Joel make the desired impact. That's the truth about the matter. So Taraba would want to have good governance. We would also want to have good governance. We want to have people that have the pulse and the feeling of the people. Wearing the option, the PDP candidate stands out to be the person we should support. I'm not the first person to have endorsed another candidate. We've seen it done in other states.
There's also been talk, I don't know whether you are aware of this or you're also privy to it, that they can, that's the Christian Association of Nigeria in Taraba State, has endorsed the PDP candidate, and this is something that other parties are not happy about. Are you aware of this?
That is the can. I think I speak fairly and best. I would like to rather concentrate on the issue that concerns me. Whatever had informed the can to do that, I wouldn't like to speak on their behalf. I only speak based on my own person and the groups that are around about me. We decided to endorse Lieutenant Colonel Kefa as the PDP candidate because we feel he can deliver, since my ticket had been delayed by the process of the court.
Well, I know my colleagues in Lagos have further questions for you, so I'll send it to them.
Well, thank you, Mark. Evangelist Molip, it's quite interesting, as a lot of people have noted, what's playing out, because it sort of takes away from that, picture, that image a lot of people have of the Labour Party, especially coming off of the presidential election. But 3 issues I'd like you to quickly respond to, just to get more clarity. Did you write that notice of withdrawal of candidature letter dated 7/8/2022? I have cited it. Did you write it?
Yeah, that has been taken by event because the court has ruled on that matter in my favor.
No, pardon me. Did you write it? Yes or no?
Yes, I did. But like I said, I went back to court to retrieve that letter. And the Federal High Court, Jalingo, has actually ruled in my favor, establishing the point that I was actually, that I wrote that letter under duress.
How do you mean under duress? Was a gun pointed at you? Were you, I don't know. What do you mean under duress, if you could just explain to Nigerians?
Yes, I think I'm glad to also respond to this aspect of the question. In fact, as a matter of fact, when the said letter I talked about was supposed to be written, the chairperson constantly kept me under pressure. Write this letter, withdraw from the candidature. I didn't know, like I said earlier, she had already gone to the national office to tell them that I had withdrawn, and she wanted to justify her claim. I have the letter here with me that was written by the national office.
All right.
So,
I'm sorry, you can land on that quickly, pardon me.
Yeah, and so for her to buttress her claim and the information she gave them at the national level, to establish the fact that I have withdrawn, she came constantly put pressure on me and raised people, including some of the candidates on ground, on me.
Yeah. On what ground did you agree to write that letter? Did you have in mind to withdraw from the race by yourself?
No. She only said to me that, in fact, as a matter of fact, what led to the writing of the letter was, one, before I had that discovery, she actually said, I mean, imagine when I secured the ticket, she eventually said that the money of the ticket has been increased. Subsequently, in the course of trying to handle that issue, she said her national chairman had actually said I should withdraw. I made bold to have seen the national chairman and asked. He said, but I didn't inform him. But I tried his line and he didn't get across. So on a Sunday, the 7th of August, she came to my house in the morning, insisted on that because she had a candidate she was shopping for to replace my person.
Right.
So.
Okay, pardon me, because of time, just to cover some other areas. Were you paid any money to step down? Was any money transferred to you to step down?
As a matter of fact, that was the big lie that Joel told on my behalf. He said, I sold my ticket to him for 5 million, and then he gave me an advance of 500,000, which was a lie, which was a lie, which was a lie. In fact, the 500,000 naira he talked about was actually the money that was transferred to me for the flight that I paid to Abuja, and the accommodation, my hotel accommodation, because I didn't go to Abuja at my own instant.
Sorry, who transferred the money?
I was actually invited to come down to Abuja.
Who transferred the said 500,000 to you, which, I mean, is...
It was Joel in Kenya, in the presence of the president of the Middle Belt, who, he said he was going to refund my transport. I said no, I didn't ask him for money. But the president of the Middle Belt said, you didn't come here at your own instant. Please, can you accept the money? I didn't even know it was 500,000. So he transferred the money. But the narrative on the transfer, the transaction narration was actually reading transportation. So that was what actually happened.
Have you received such monies before that time?
No.
Is it customary in the Labour Party for such monies to be paid?
No, please, I didn't get your question.
Is it something that is normal within the Labour Party to get such allowances for travel?
No, it was not a Labour Party affair. This was an invitation that was extended to me to discuss my ticket because they wanted Joel to take over the ticket.
So if you got the ticket legitimately, according to the rules of the game within your party, on what premise then were you asked, or was it suggested to you, to surrender your ticket, knowing that you personally had an agenda for the people of Taraba?
Yeah, from time to time when people get involved in politics, others who are interested in such positions to seek to negotiate with parties that are involved to see if there will be a substitution. But in this case, the approach of it was wrong. The approach of it was completely wrong. And above all, when this blatant lie was told about my person by Joel, and it was all over the media, he sought to sit down with me to discuss. I said, no, go back to the press, retrieve the lie you have spoken about me. Then we can now sit down and talk.
Okay.
But he didn't want to do so.
I mean, we're just counting down to the governorship election, and I just wonder what this will mean for your party. But just quickly, you earlier on recognized the supremacy of the party in your actions. You said that the chairman of your party came to speak to you, and then you thought, okay, let me step down based on the things that she had told you, basically respecting the supremacy of the party. But in endorsing the candidate of the PDP now, you said that he was with a support group, not with your party. So I wonder, do you still respect the supremacy of your party, the Labour Party, except, of course, you have decamped to the PDP?
Let me also make some things very clear here. That as far as I am concerned, I'm still in Labour Party. Secondly, I respect the supremacy of the party. However, organizations are run based on principle. And the cardinal principle that holds the party is justice. So any action that is actually executed based on injustice, naturally, will generate problem. And that is where we find ourselves where we are. If you want to rob James to pay Peter, there will be a problem. And that's exactly where we are.
James, one of the James that you just highlighted now. But incidentally, Senator Kenya was supposed to be on the program, but he got across later yesterday that he had to travel and as such could not make it. But James Benjamin, you heard Evangelist Philip concerning what actually transpired, saying you were not properly informed of the matter. Are you in the clear now of what he said? Could you unmute first? Can you unmute yourself?
Can you hear me now?
Go ahead, please. Yes.
All right. Like I said earlier on, Evangelist Philip Mili is somebody I hold in high esteem. I respect inside politics and outside politics. The truth of the matter is this. He said he was not properly or officially, information. When you have an information that social primaries will take place at this particular place, at this particular time, the onus is on you to strategize, come up with your team on how to win in the primaries. And I, as the secretary of the party, wrote a letter, went to his spokesman, looked for him. I didn't see him. I went to his office. Nobody was in the office. I dropped it at his door. I even sent a soft copy to his spokesman's WhatsApp. And his spokesman was the one that called the state chairperson of the party, Dr. Mrs. Esther Johnson, and said they are going to be involved in the primaries. So they are in the know of the primaries. The issue of information has crossed. But right now, being officially or whatever is just something I carry the baton right now. But information has crossed, and they are aware that the primaries will take place at so time, at so place. So the rest is left for them to do the needful. But if they refuse to do the needful, there is no need pushing the blame on the party.
So, James, how will the supporters in this state, what are they supposed to do now that there's this confusion as to what the party is going to do this Saturday?
This Saturday, Chamberlain, like I said, we are on our A game. All the local government chairmen of the party are on board. The state ESCOs are on board, and the PCC, everybody is on board. With the support groups, everybody is on board to ensure the victory of Senator Joel Kenya. Make no mistake about it. So everybody is on board to ensure that victory is assured come this Saturday at the polls in Taraba State. All the 168 wards, our leaders are ready. All the 3,597 polling units across Taraba State, we have people on board to ensure the victory.
All right. So, Evangelist Monlip, you say you are still a member of the party, but you are clearly going against what the party will want, Evangelist Monlip. How do you explain that? Because this is clearly sabotaging the effort of your party. Why didn't you let the party decide who is the better person to support, as opposed to you unilaterally taking that decision? And could you unmute while you speak?
Like I was trying to say, as a matter of fact, I by no means have sabotaged the party. Like I said earlier, is the team leader of the support group in the state. And this is what forms the pillar of the party. The support group, the leader of this support group is a strong force to be reckoned with. And their interests must be properly represented. In any case, while I'm still dragging issue with them in the court, and the court has not yet heard me, my people must have a place to pinch themselves. But let me clear the issue about what James talked about information. The letter he said that was pushed under the door of my spokesman, you see, he did not tell you people at what time he brought the letter. He did not also tell you people what type of letter was it. That was a public notice And that public notice was actually a notice that did not indicate asking me to come for primaries.
All right.
Beyond that,
well, you got the letter.
In the midnight.
Okay.
The information came very late in the night. And as at 10 a.m. when the primaries was supposed to be starting, I was not yet in the know.
All right.
So it was already a planned thing just
okay, we need to wrap up. Evangelist.
I've gone to court.
Thank you.
I have gone to court to address this particular issue.
Thank you very much, Evangelist Philip Munlip and James Benjamin. Thank you both for coming on. We're back in a moment. Stay with us.
Are you worried about your security? Have you been a victim of crime? Worry no more. The Ministry of Interior, in conjunction with other security agencies, bring you N-Alert, an app that puts you in charge. N-Alert mobile app enables citizens to report emergencies and criminal activities to the internal security agencies for quick response. Now, with the N-Alert app, you can report crime, disasters, and other emergencies, such as fire outbreak, road accidents, student gender-based violence, jail attacks, vandalism of critical national assets, passport racketeering, and you can even monitor elections and lots more. Simply download the N-Alert app on the iOS App Store or Google Play Store to register or dial 0800 Interior toll-free to report. Now, if you see something, do N-Alert.
Hi, I'm Pat Rankin, and they don't call me World Best for no reason. I only deal with the best. Be it auto or business, 100% claim is always guaranteed.
Welcome to world-class insurance services. We are Anchor Insurance, where insurance truly works.
All right, welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Let's get across to taking a look at developments in Bauchi State. We've got the Public Relations Officer in Bauchi State. He joins us virtually as well. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today. We know that the candidates did sign a peace accord, but during the campaigns, there are reports that it's been somewhat, turbulent. There's clashes here and there. Many just wondering, why is it that what is the police doing about what we hear going on in Bauchi about it? Parties attacking themselves during campaigns? All right, Mr. Wakil, we can't seem to hear you. You need to just adjust your audio so that we'll sort that out. But we'd just like you to do this as soon as you can, such that we can go ahead and do that. So let's just double check again if that's been done. Can you hear us now? All right, we'll get back to that report so that we'll just signpost it for him to understand, where were headed with all of these things. So, but while we try to sort out his communication device, which appears to be a challenge, but clearly, yes, a peace accord was signed. But let's let you listen to this, and we'll take it from there.
If it is to sign the peace accord, I don't want.
Governorship candidates in Bauchi State are pending their signatures to a written commitment for a peaceful electioneering process.
To the agenda of the program, that is.
On the same day the peace accord was signed, violence broke out during the governorship campaign of the All Progressives Congress in Duguri, Al-Kalewi local government area, leaving one person dead. Part of the peace accord reads that they are desirous of taking proactive measures to prevent any form of violence before, during, and after the election.
I'm delighted to be part of this.
The violent incident in Duguri leaves much to be desired about their commitments. The candidates share concerns on what ingredients is required for peace to reign beyond just signing a written document.
We plead that this election should be free of logistic problems. We hope the equipment will work, and then of course materials will reach their destinations on time. We hope our citizens will not be disenfranchised.
Once there is an iota of unfairness in the process, this may disrupt what we have just signed.
That peace is not the absence of violence, but the absence of justice. So we expect justice from all of you.
The police and the INEC give their words.
On the side of the security, we have promised to be very, very fair and humble. The politicians, I will wish that you will be fully guided by the provision of Electoral Act 2022.
We do assure you all the polling unit will work with the beavers, and then the beavers will work. We assure you that, and then the poll will be in good time.
The police in the state is vowing to sanction anyone who incites others to act in a disorderly manner. The penalty is pegged at a maximum fine of 500,000 naira or imprisonment for a term of 12 months or both. Hajara Aliyu, Channels Television News.
All right, let's get back to the police spokesperson. Several reports concerning what's going on with campaigns, and it raises a lot of concerns. So tell us, what is the police doing about all of this?
The command is fully prepared for the gubernatorial election. The Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, PSC Daga, MPM, NIBS, FDC, CFR, has given the command additional reinforcements of equipment and technological gadgets such as water cannon, vehicles, arms, anti-riots, gadgets for the preparation of the election. Actually, the Bauchi State Command, our preparedness started at the earnest. We started our preparation, pre-election press, election press, and the post-election press. During the pre-election press, we strike out our strategics. The Commissioner of Police, CP Aminu Alasan PSC Daga, read the riot acts to the politicians, the political actors, that they should play alone, they should go about their political campaign within the ambit of the law, which the Electoral Acts 2022 has been stipulated. Each and every of the candidates, in as far as he's going for a campaign, will write to the command, and the command will give him a green light to move on so that there won't be any clash or any form of option. Secondly, during the election, the command has deployed personnel.
Mr. Wakili, before you talk about what's been deployed, I mean, yeah, we hear you in the first instance. So tell us, has there been any arrest made about the reports of attacks and killings that took place during the campaigns?
so many, when the incident happened, the Commissioner of Police went to Duguri personally himself for on-the-spot assessment. On the spot assessment, he went on with a team of police investigators led by the Commissioner of Police and the Deputy Commissioner of Police Criminal Investigation. As I'm speaking to you presently, our detectives were there in Duguri, recorded the statement of the victims, conducting an intelligence-led gathering. Hello, can you hear me again?
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Yeah, so an invitation was sent to most of the people that were, their names were being mentioned, and the command is doing everything possible to expand the investigation to arrest the perpetrators of those dastardly acts.
Are you saying right now no arrest has been made whatsoever?
Actually, I'm not privy to such information, but I know that our detectives presently were in Duguri, and the investigation is still ongoing.
So on the one hand, Mr. Wakili, you say that you've read the riot act to the political actors, but in the meantime, people have lost their lives in some of the political rallies that have already been held in some parts of the states. So I am just wondering, isn't this riot act that you're reading to the political actors coming a little too late?
Actually, crime and criminality is a galloping phenomenon. Sometimes you may not determine where it must happen. But such that happen, the command has done everything possible to see that nobody is above the law. And anybody that is found wanting will be arrested and will be prosecuted according to the law.
Are you saying that the political actors went on their campaigns without the presence of security operatives present at the venue of their rallies?
Actually, most of the political actors, whenever they are going for the campaign, they rise to the command, and the command gives them the green light. Actually, that day, what happened is that all the political actors were presently on ground here in the command to sign the peace accords. The APC gubernatorial aspirant was his deputy represented him, and that is when he went for the campaign in Duguri, and such happens.
I am unable to understand what it is that you're saying. So he went without the green light. Does the APC candidate went without the green light of the police command? Is that what you're saying?
Hello, sir.
Mr. Wakili, can you hear me? I'm asking, did the APC candidate then go to the area to campaign without the green light of the police? Is that what you're saying?
They were all here in the command for the peace accords. They are all there here in the command for the peace accords.
What
happened? APC Actually, what happened at that day, he visited Duguri village where he went for the campaign on the 8th of March, where a rally is ongoing at Uliwats in Alkaleri local government of Bauchi State. Violence broke out during the rally, which resulted into having 15 people were injured, out of which six were taken to primary healthcare center in that same Duguri, and they were treated. Then the rest were taken to Alkaleri General Hospital, where the severity of the injury could not make the doctor to attend to them, and they were transferred to Abubakar Tafawa Balewa Teaching Hospital here in Bauchi, while one of them paid the supreme price. Among those that were there, personnel of Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, 2 of them were injured. So that means there is a security agent there with the APC gubernatorial aspirant. If 2 of the personnel of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense will be injured, that means there are security personnel there.
Okay. So what exactly are you still trying to find out for you to be able to know who did it, if there were security people on the ground?
That is why I said the discrete investigation has commenced on earnest. And as far as the outcome of the investigation is out, we'll make it public to the members of the public.
Are you holding political candidates liable for whatever violence happens during their campaign or rallies?
In the actual sense, we cannot preempt investigation unless when the investigation is pointing at a specific candidate, we hold him liable.
Now, I'm not talking about this particular incident now. I'm talking about in general, because you say that you've read the Riot Act to the candidates and, you know, you've also had them sign an accord. What I'm asking is, should this accord be breached? Are you holding the candidates liable for the breach of the accord and the breach of the peace?
Actually, the accord is nothing than the candidates affirm that they voluntarily elected to committed to the maintenance of peace in the environment in the 2023 election, that they are affirming their commitment to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Electoral Act 2022, that they are desirous of promoting unity and corporate existence of the Nigerians and indivisible entity, that they are determined to avoid any conduct that will endanger the political stability of the state and the national security of Nigeria in general, that they are determined to place the interests of the state above their personal interests and their partisan concern. This is the part of the Riot Act that means stipulated, read to them, and is part of the Electoral Act. So if there is any punishment, the Electoral Act that is being stipulated, the punishment is there, and we are going to enforce it to any one of them that violated it.
All right, Mr. Wakili, my colleagues in Lagos have questions for you.
Thanks, Mark. But I'm just curious, really, regarding the investigation. How long, on an average, does it take to investigate and come up with something substantive? I mean, this happened, was it Wednesday? This is Monday now. How long will it take to maybe even make an arrest? For some people, they'll say, what, 4 days is a bit too long.
It's not that too long, but we said a discrete investigation is ongoing. And if the discrete investigation is ongoing, we don't publicize it in the public. We allow the investigation to carry on, then the outcome of the investigation will be made public. And I assured you that the outcome of the investigation will be made public, and it will be given to you for the copy.
Maybe just to also give the people some glimmer of hope. On previous occasions, how has the investigation gone? Have you come up with anything substantive? Have you unraveled any case recently that people can say, okay, well, the police in Bauchi State, they handled that well, so we expect that this will be handled well?
Thank you very much. Like I said earlier, crime and criminality is a galloping phenomenon. We here in Bauchi
I'm sorry,
Command,
it's a galloping phenomenon, you said?
Phenomenon, yeah. It can sometimes it's upsurge and sometimes come down.
Oh, galloping,
so
all right.
We here in Bauchi State Command, we've been doing it. We've been confronted with some numerous challenges before the election. And actually, we have done marvelously very well under the leadership and the command of the Inspector General of Police, who has helped us a lot to achieve this feat. Then the Commissioner of Police, whom has given us a sense of direction. Before this election, the Bauchi State Command is confronted with some crime and criminality, pocket of crime and criminality, where the command keep the ball rolling. If you may remember that sometime we had issue of banditry in Alkaleri area. We have in the Toro area. We have in Lingi area. Bauchi is a state where it's bounded with 7 different states.
Right.
So there are influx of people that for us to profile them, it's a little bit, it's not easy for us. So people came into Bauchi, and the rate of crime just increased for some time, but we made it possible to dislodge all those crimes. We neutralized about 12 to 13 of the bandits. We rescued 54 victims of kidnapping, and so on.
Well,
the achievement of the command is...
SP Wakili, without taking away from all of those achievements you talk about, I'm speaking specifically about, campaign violence, especially when the political actors are, being fingered on this one. But also a question was raised earlier, which I'd like you to respond pointedly to, and it was about whether or not the APC's candidate got clearance to go for that campaign in the area. Did he get police clearance? Because you said another campaign was actually holding there. And I know usually operationally, you always advise that, two major campaigns should not happen at the same place at the same time. So was there clearance given from the police for that campaign to happen?
Thank you very much. Actually, there is no any campaign happening there in Duguri. So all the political candidates were already here in the headquarters together with the Commissioner of Police. So that's when the incident happened. So this is something that you cannot prevent. This is something that you may not know when it happens. But we will not preempt investigation. If he is found wanting, he will be arrested and he will be prosecuted according to the law of the section of the law of the Electoral Act 2022. If you violated it, you'll be prosecuted.
Well, just to be clear, SP Wakil, I just want to understand and confirm if, because it's akin to the question that my colleague Mark asked you earlier. When you said that the APC gubernatorial candidate went out on a rally and violence ensued during the rally in which 14 people were injured, what is the normal process before a gubernatorial candidate will go on a campaign? Should he be accompanied by police? And if so, how does that work? How many policemen should go with them? Because we understand that police is supposed to provide some sort of security. So exactly what was supposed to be the process? What happened in this case and how come this happened?
Thank you very much. In the actual sense, like I said, that 2 civil defense corps were injured in the clash. So this is something that is a little bit dicey for us to come out with the outcome of the investigation. That is why the investigators were still presently there. Continue with the investigation to unravel the circumstances and who are the actors and who are the perpetrators.
The question I'm asking, SP Wakil, is what is the normal process? Should the police go with them when they're going on the rally? Should they not?
If 2 civil defense there were injured, the personnel were there.
Okay.
Thank you.
So under normal circumstances, security personnel were supposed to go with the gubernatorial candidate when they're going on a rally.
Pardon? I can't hear you.
I said under normal circumstances, your men were supposed to go with the gubernatorial candidate or the political party when they're going on a rally. That's what you're saying.
I can't hear you. I'm not hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
Hello?
Can you hear me now, SP Wakil? Oh, dear. Okay, well, I don't know, maybe to hear you, Coyote, because he heard you earlier.
Well, it's just, let's toss this to Abuja. I saw a smile on his face as well. I hope it's the connection playing a fast one in us. It's back to you guys in Abuja.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Kayode. So let's see if we could try, even though we're out of time. But SP Wakil, he was asking, normally, and security agencies, the police specifically, supposed to be on the campaign trail with them during the campaigns.
Thank you very much. I can hear you now. You said?
Weren't police officers supposed to be alongside the candidates during the campaign?
But you know that the gubernatorial aspirant of APC is a retired Air Marshal is supposed to have his own security details.
Is it beyond protection from the police?
Protection is everywhere. Police can protect even you that you are sitting there. Without protection, you cannot sit where you are today.
All right, SPO Wakil, Public Relations Officer for Bauchi State Police Command. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much, sir.
So there you go. That is the show today. We do thank you all for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow. I'm Chamberlain. So have a good day.
Well, let's really hope that the authorities help Nigerians have a good week by ensuring that the queues are shorter and that there is further clarity and dissemination of the information that has been given, the order given at the Supreme Court, enabling all Nigerians to spend both the old and new currencies till the end of this year. Thank you for watching. I'm Malkwe Ogun Yusuf.
We have some mails here. We'd like to thank
Interestingly, they are on the same Naira policy.
Absolutely. From Olatunde Ayodele, Dowadini, and others. Thank you so much. Oh, there you go. That's Olatunde Ayodele's mail saying many of the banks are dispensing old notes, but they're not receiving the old notes from their customers. So if the banks are not receiving the old notes, what confidence will the ordinary people have to collect it? I remember as at the last time, the CBN was saying if you want to deposit the old notes, you have to come to the CBN. So is this in line with that policy? Are we missing something?
Well, same thing Idowadeni is asking here. This is not a good policy in the first place. This is purely money confiscation policy. What would you expect when your money is that you need for everyday transaction is taken, and you are only returned? You've only returned about 20%. Anyway. That's just that.
Well, that's been the show. I do hope you find Naira to spend, and I hope your transactions go through as well. I'm Karadoki Kyolu. That's the prayer now.
Please be safe, whatever you do. Have a wonderful day. I'm Ayo Makinde.
It begins when news breaks, but there's much more in the details. That's where Special Report comes into the picture, locating source and destination of the news.
Something needs to be done. We don't need to negotiate that. Government should see what we are doing.
Bringing your perspective to the fore.
If those arrested are those protesting against police brutality, I will say that such arrest is unjustified.
Exploring angles that may provide solutions, giving you the opportunity to understand the issues and make decisions. Watch Special Report on Channels Television. From the north to the south, east and west, Network Africa brings you news stories from all around the continent, with wide range in coverage, insights, and analysis of special issues. We dissect Africa in its beauty.